Hey guys, Simon Murray here, owner of SM Designs, and today in the short video I'm going to show you some of the techniques that I use to paint this helmet. In particular, I want to show you guys how to pull straight lines on a curved surface. We'll also look at image transfer and how to create these perfect circles with retro numbers. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in here and pull a few 6mm straight line pinstripe, and I want to keep that tape as stretched and as taut as is possible. And this will be particularly important when you're working on a curved surface. When you snap the tape, when you hear me actually snapping it, it almost like shrink wraps onto the surface. Okay, so I'm just going to back mask this now with regular masking tape. And the reason for that is because when I'm spraying, I like to spray from dark to light. So I'm actually going to spray the blue first and finish with the lighter color, in this case, the orange. Okay, so obviously on a curved surface we need to be very precise, and it's a little more difficult, but it's not a big deal. What I'm going to look for, I'm going to look for reference points, like maybe the pivot points here on the visor, or tooling sections in the mold there, somewhere here where I can get a reference. And what I'll do is I'll find the center point, and typically I'll just run some fine line tape down there. If I need a 100mm stripe, I'll just measure 50mm off either side and effectively replicate what I've just shown you there. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how to create these perfect circles, which is quite difficult obviously on a curved surface. And believe it or not, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a mixing cup as a template. Pretty much all sizes, and this is how I do it. And you notice there that I have a perfect circle. However, I don't want to use anything flat. It's going to be harder to draw around, harder to trace around, and it's going to be more prone to moving. So I'm just literally going to use this cup like that. Just going to take a standard pencil now, and I'm going to draw it out. I'm putting quite a bit of lead down here, quite a bit of carbon, but what I'm going to do is I'm using an opaque paint, and the opaque paint will easily neutralize this for me. And when I come to use my fine line tape, I'll favor the inside, knowing that my opaque paint will neutralize the pencil line. Now I'm just going to use my 3mm fine line for the radius. And what's crucial when you're trying to create a perfect circle is that you never start or stop on the radius. I promise you, you're always going to see it. So bizarrely, I'm actually going to come right in at a 90-degree angle like this. You see I've got a lot of tape out, okay? So I'm bringing a lot of tape out. I want to make as many passes as I possibly can. I mean, I'm going to have to stop obviously at some point, but I'd rather stop 2 or 3 times than 6 or 7 times. And what I'm going to do is just follow that line round. This is only going to work really for you if you keep that tape stretched. If you relax on the tape at all, it's just largely going to want to go in a straight line. So it's crucial that I keep it as taut as possible. And this is just regular standard 3mm fine line. At this stage, the size of the tape is irrelevant because I'm going to be spraying the positive area. But when I get to here, it's crucial that I come back out the same angle that I went in. So I don't actually pay any attention to the radius itself. I just run a straight 180 out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, because it's a positive mask, I need to cut the tails. So I just marked it with a pencil line there, and I'm cutting the bottom one. This one here, this line here is the top, so I don't need to be as accurate. I'm just going to cut him anywhere at all there. And that's going to let me remove that. And I can just weed that out, and I'm ready to mask up. Okay, so I just positive masked this up now with my 2-inch masking tape, and I'm going to cut it out. You see, I don't need to be spectacularly accurate because I've got that 3mm to play with, and it's crucial that I don't cut too heavy. I just want to mark the top masking tape. I don't want to cut right through into my fine line, and obviously that would undo everything I've just done. And that's it. I'm pretty much ready to weed all this out and spray. Have you noticed my overlap? You see how I'm keeping it like sort of 5 or 6mm there, here and also here. What that's going to do is make sure that I don't incur any underspray or paint creep. And that's pretty much it. I'm just ready to go right ahead and spray this with my opaque blue. Okay, so this is my target color, and I want to achieve that as quickly as possible. And the reason why I want to do that is, if I were to use a transparent, a semi-transparent paint, I'm going to have to put a lot of product on there, and I'm going to get substantial buildup. So I want to get this painted with as little fuss as possible, so I'm going to use opaque paint. In this case, opaque white and daylight blue, and I'm just going to mix these 50-50 to give me my target color. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to mix this up now, and that's 50-50 blue and white. Whereas the reducer, I hear you say, I'm actually going to shoot this straight out of the bottle. I'm not going to use reducer. The reason why I don't want to use reducer is sometimes we over-reduce, we spray too high, too much product, too much fluid. And what I can typically get, or at least will encourage, and that is paint creep, okay? Ragged edges. So what I'll do is I'll immediately try no reduction. If it's a little slow, the product's slow, it's not moving very fast, I'll then put 5 or 10% reduction in. But with this 1.2 gun here, I'm confident that I can shoot this straight out of the bottle with 0 reduction, get a lovely clean edge, and I will have no paint creep whatsoever. Okay, so I'm ready to spray now, and I'm using an LPH80 with an E4 cap, and this is a 1.2 setup. At Createx here, we always recommend you spraying at the manufacturer's recommended PSI. Okay guys, so this is only 2 coats, okay? 2-coat wonder. No reduction, opaque paint. How do I know I've reached full saturation? Easy, because my masking tape will be the same color as my target area. Okay, so the paint's dry now, and I'm just going to remove the masking. At this point, I want to leave the fine line tape in situ. And you can see the paint's completely dry. And that's it, ready for a quick reverse mask. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick remask now. And that'll be us ready for the next color. Okay guys, so I'm going to spray some Autoborn Sealer Orange, again unreduced. I could use 10%, but it's really not necessary. And what I'm going to do is use this little minigun here by Spray Gunner. And this is kind of perfect if you don't have a big air source, a big compressor. It's got a fantastic fan pattern, and believe it or not, it's going to handle the Autoborn Sealer with 0 reduction. Okay, so I've got my second and final coat of Sealer Orange, and what I'm doing now is I'm just mixing up my pearl orange color. And what I've done is I've taken 2 parts Wicked Orange to 1 part Golden Yellow, and I'm adding a little Cosmic Sparkle Gold and Hot Rod Sparkle Gold. What's important is into this mix, I want to put some 40-30 balancing clear in there. And the reason why I want to do that is it gives me better pearl metallic orientation whenever I'm spraying it out. And you can see we're looking for that kind of viscosity there. So we're finished with our second color now, and I'm just going to remove the masking here. And you can see we've got very nice clean edges there. And a lot of that was due to the fact that I used very little or indeed 0 reduction. Okay, so I'm just starting to mask up now for my final black pinstripe, which in this case is 3 mil. So I'm going to lay down an initial 3 mil, and then another one, and I will sacrifice the middle one. And that's it, ready to airbrush. Okay, so I'm just masking up now for my final black stripes here, and on the circle. And I've laid down 3 mil, 3 mil, 3 mil. The middle one's obviously going to be sacrificed. So the black line will just directly touch the blue. And that's it. I'm just going to back mask this now. And then we will quickly get this airbrushed. Okay, so I'm just going to apply the number now. This is a flat panel. So I'm happy to just basically transfer this and pretty much lay it straight down on there. However, on the curvature of a helmet, often what I'll do is I will actually cut these out completely separate. Like here, I've got the number 2, and I'll lay them on separate, and that's because of the curvature of the helmet. I'll put the positive stencil on first. Here I've used the negative. I'll put the positive on, and then I'll even cut them in half and marry the negative up to the positive, just so I can get a perfect marriage. But on a flat surface like this, it's just straightforward enough so I can go right ahead and just lay it down flat. Okay, so I'm just finishing off now, still with the black, and I'm just laying down my numbers here. And this is a flat panel, so you see I've just put it on one piece, and I've used application tape to transfer that. However, on the curvature of a helmet, I would do it slightly different, in a sense that what I would do is I would place the positive numbers on first. And that's really just because of the curvature and the distortion of the helmet. I would get those lined up first, and then I would just marry the negative stencil to that, as I say, and that's just because they're not going to align perfectly. But on a flat surface like this, this is pretty very simple, straightforward graphic, and that's it. I'm ready to take the application tape off and get it all sprayed. Okay guys, so I'm just going to use some Wicked Opaque Black in a 0.35, and I've got about 10-15% reduction in here. Not really looking for performance, just more for coverage. And I'll just build it up in several light coats. So 2 or 3 coats will be suffice with the opaque black. It's going to give us plenty of coverage. And again, keeping that reduction down to a minimum, as you can see, is keeping our lines nice and clean. You don't want to really load that reducer up too heavily, especially when you've got a lot of vehicle graphics on the go. And that's how we're able to control those lines and get some nice clean images. Okay, so I obviously got pretty quick coverage there with the opaque black. I'm just removing the masking now. Okay, so I finished with my blacks pretty much. They're wrapped up, and now I'm just going to do the Gulf logo here. I've got this cut out in the plotter cutter, and I'm just going to mark out where it goes. Obviously on the helmet I want to be like pretty much mill perfect, but here today, quick demo, I'll just ballpark it. And I'm just going to spray this white, opaque white, again with no reduction, to cut down on the paint creep. So I'm ready to neutralize this white, but what I'm doing is I'm actually using the underlying ground coat, the pearl orange I made up. So I'm just going to keep these guys here in as a positive stencil and simply weed out the rest. Okay, I'm coming in with my opaque white now, and I'm spraying super light. Please remember, paint creep occurs on the first coat, not the second. That's when most of your damage is going to get done. When you get those jagged edges, it's paint creep or underspray, and it typically always happens on the first coat. So I'm showing a lot of restraint here and just building it up nice and lightly, semi-dry, opaque. And that'll be my first coat. I'll just let that dry, and 2 more coats. Okay, so just going to remove these positive masks now, exposing the original orange, and that's it. I'm pretty much ready to apply the stencil here. Sometimes I'll use application tape on a flat surface, definitely. I find on a helmet, on a curvature sometimes, that it's actually more of a hindrance than anything, and I'll just hand apply it without the application tape. Okay, so just use a fresh stencil here. Could have used those other ones again. I was really just taking them off for your benefit to let you see the exposed orange, but I'm just putting some fresh ones down here now. Just put a little bit of tape in there, and I'm going to come in with an opaque, wicked opaque blue. Okay guys, so I'm going to come in now with my wicked opaque phthalo blue. Again, I want it to be opaque and zero reduction, okay? Look, it's still going to flow absolutely fine without that reducer, but it's just going to minimize the chances of paint creep. And you know the drill by now. 3 medium to light coats, and that's it. All right, so pretty much wrapped up here. Just going to take the tape off. And again, you see I managed to control those edges. That's pretty much it, guys. A short video, nice and simple. This is something you could easily tackle yourself. Pretty straightforward graphic. The only thing you might want to watch is just the complications amplified a little bit on the curvature of the helmet. But as long as you get that line nice and straight, get that foundation in, that's absolutely crucial. After that, pretty much everything will take care of itself. Remember how I'd done the circle, and just keep those lines nice and straight. Almost no reduction basically on all my graphic work to cut down on that underspray, and I'm confident you guys could do this. I'm Simon Murray here at Createx, and thanks very much for watching.